Hello, friends. Welcome to EV World News, where we talk about electric vehicles, green technology, and the stock markets. Today, I've got something interesting. It's something I think is kind of fun. Sometimes it's nice to see new fast cars. A lot of times we talk about just regular cars like Teslas and Toyotas and things like that. This one's a little bit more fun, but this one's from Chevy. Let's see what we got here today. And this comes to us from the Drive. So for 2024, we have a new electric, it's a hybrid Corvette. They're calling it the E-Ray. Pretty slick looking. I love the current Corvette design. It's a mid-engine car and it's going to be their first hybrid. So it's still going to have gas coupled with an electric motor. And it's special in a number of ways that it works. It's designed to be simplistic. Other hybrid supercars tend to add the electric motors around the transmission, the wheels, all over the place. In this case, driving all four wheels with just the internal combustion engine to achieve all-wheel drive didn't seem as practical. Mechanical all-wheel drive in a mid-engine car is more complicated to execute. It certainly would have been heavier. Adding a electric front axle and mid-mounted battery seemed like a much better option for several reasons. The fact we can use the front drive unit in a modular way, which is very different from other performance hybrids to capture that kinetic energy independent of what the internal combustion engine was doing, had big advantages in terms of utility and ease of production. The configuration just made too much sense not to pursue. Has a 1.9 kilowatt battery located in the center tunnel. Gets an extra 160 horsepower out of the electric motor, and it's sent in a compact and lightweight magnesium case through a tiny differential. The fasteners are all aluminum to help keep the weight down. They were trying very hard not to increase the weight of the Corvette as they did this. The battery has 8 10-cell modules. The 80 cells may be separated for practical cooling, assembly, and charge management reasons, but they're all wired in series. The voltage of each cell gets added together while the current remains the same. The E-Ray pack is rated at 300 volts, which is a little low for a full EV, but plenty for a hybrid and unusually high for just 1.9 kilowatts of total capacity. Now, in this particular case, the vehicle isn't really is designed just simply to be faster. So not really using it so much in terms of making it more fuel efficient. And they don't get into this too heavily about the differences in the gas mileage because it's a combined fuel economy of 19 miles per gallon, which isn't really all that great. Corvettes are known to have some special features for making them get better highway mileage, but it doesn't talk about that here. And it has 655 horsepower versus the base car's 495. So you're adding, like I said, 160 horsepower to the vehicle. Oh, the Chevy was going for modularity. Skeptics of hybrid cars will typically say they're complicated and more difficult to repair. And from the beginning, the E-Ray was designed to eliminate that concern. All of the batteries and power electronics are housed in one unit, can be dropped right out of the bottom of the car. Let's see what we got here. Talking a little bit about the power to speed. Anyways, this is a very sharp looking car. I've always loved the look of the Corvette. Very, very sleek and elegant. And the current models all have just a really sharp look. So one of the things that's become very interesting when you've thought about auto manufacture, think of a few countries, the United States with the big three, and of course now we have Tesla in the EV space. But then you think of Europe, you think of uh, BMW, Mercedes, Volvo. There's a number, Audi, number of European manufacturers. Then you think of Japan. You've traditionally thought of Toyota, Nissan, Mazda, Honda. companies like that. And then in more recent years, you've had the Korean entries, Hyundai and Kia. And so all of a sudden, for China to be jumping in heavy in the EV space just seemed a little bit unusual, but it's something that's certainly come across. Now, this article that I'm going to comes from Wired, and they basically say that China's EV boom caught Western car companies asleep at the wheel. And I think this is certainly the case for the big three here in the United States, not so much necessarily for Tesla, but in terms of a lot of your traditional gas powered vehicles, it's been a challenge. Now, China's had really good EV adoption, and so that's really helped out in terms of that market. But anyways, and these channels tell viewers that the tech-heavy, keenly priced Chinese electric vehicles that have appeared on the Chinese domestic market since the end of the global pandemic will soon wipe the floor with their Western counterparts. Now, in the United States, we don't see most of these Chinese brands. We haven't seen BYD. There's a number of companies making EVs in China that we simply don't show. The Guangzhou Auto Show highlighted cars from 42 brands, almost all of which are largely unknown outside of China. Some of the eye-popping EVs that were featured would be considered concept cars at a Western auto show, but they're already on the road in China. It's going to be quite interesting to see where these end up. I'm sure a lot of it has to do with getting crash testing ratings, different things so that they can be sold in other countries. I mean, this one here, this is from Hawaii. This is a very nice looking vehicle. They're going to compare it to the Model S. Of course, that's still competing with Tesla. One thing, Tesla's definitely the brand to beat. They're very much like Apple in the phone business now. It's a tough hurdle to overcome what Tesla has brought to the market. 300 companies manufacturing EVs in China. The competition is intense. One homegrown brand is much bigger than the rest, and that's obviously BYD. BYD and Tesla worldwide for EV sales go back and forth as to um, total sales, while Tesla has the top couple of vehicles with the Model Y and the Model 3. BYD has something like 7 or 8 vehicles in the top 20 cars or EVs sold worldwide. BYD is Tesla's main competitor in China, and it may soon be a serious competitor to many of the world's brands. The 28-year-old company is backed by Warren Buffett. I think uh, Berkshire Hathaway may still, I know at one point they owned 10% of the company. I don't know what they own currently. BYD is second only to CATL in Chinese battery production, which is a sector where China arguably leads the world. BYD is the dominant automaker in China, accounting for 37% of the huge domestic market and heading for a full half by 2026. BYD made 4 of the top 10 EVs sold worldwide. They have 30,000 patents. That is just a ridiculous number of patents to have. The company wants to expand by building cars in Europe, probably in France. E- Elon Musk acknowledges that BYD is now a significant player, but in 2011, he mocked the company's first vehicles. Have you seen their car? It's interesting. That's 12 years ago. It's hard to tell where somebody's going to go. Now he says that was many years ago. Their cars are highly competitive these days. It would be interesting to see how the Chinese economy ramps up. The it's obvious that they're a major player. They're ahead of everybody but Tesla, and they've adopted electric cars faster than the United States, faster than the Japanese, faster than Europe. They're countries are trying to catch up. But what's interesting is just like Tesla, these Chinese companies weren't building gas cars, so they've strictly been doing electric vehicles. They're going to be a little bit out in front. I think you're still going to have a hard time overtaking some of your traditional car makers. People are still going to want to buy BMW and Mercedes. People are still going to want to buy Ford and Chevy simply because people are used to buying those brands. So, but it'd be interesting to see where things go in that space. Anyways, that's all I've got for today. Thanks for tuning